So today I will cover this topic of how to do hypothesis testing using MS Excel. Now assume that there is this particular situation that we are facing. So there is a group of people who have been on a diet, okay, and we need to determine, has this diet helped them reduce their weight? So this is one situation, okay, and there is one more situation where there are two weight loss diets. Some experts consider diet 1 to be more effective and others consider diet 2 to be more effective. Here we need to determine which diet is really effective in reducing the weight. Is it diet 1 or is it diet 2? So that is what we have in the second situation. So in these kinds of situations, whenever you're faced with evaluating two specific options, or when you have performed an experiment on certain groups of people, you do this hypothesis testing to see what is the effect of that experiment or whether that experiment has been really effective. So this is where you use the hypothesis testing. Okay, so what are the steps involved in this hypothesis testing if we see? So mainly there are three steps. First step is hypothesizing. So by hypothesizing, I mean we form some sort of an idea or some sort of an assumption regarding the experiment that we have made. So here in this diet scenario, we are hypothesizing that diet is helpful in reducing weight. So that is our hypothesis. And then we measure. Okay, so what do we measure here? Our target variable or the experiment is centered around the weight of the people, right? So we measure the weights of the people who participate in the experiment. And then we compare. And this is the actual statistical part where we perform some test to check whether this hypothesis is true or not. Okay. Now the challenge here in this kind of hypothesis testing scenario is many test methods are available and we need to choose the right one. So what do I mean by many test methods? So just see this flowchart here. So now this is where it gets a little bit technical. So I am just saying when to use what test. Okay. So first see how many sample sets are we comparing. Okay, so are we comparing two sample sets or greater than two sample sets? I've got examples in the subsequent parts of the presentation, so we'll go over what this actually means. But for now, you can just remember that if you have two sample sets, then you have to check whether the two sets belong to the same group or whether the two sets belong to different groups. Okay, so if they belong to the same group, then this is the test that you perform. Paired, so you perform this t-test, and within the t-test you have several types. So here you perform paired two sample test for means. Okay, and if the two sets belong to the different groups, then you perform this you first perform this F test to see whether the variances are equal or not. And just a minute, this is actually t-test. My bad, I'm sorry. So if the two sets belong to different groups, you first have to do this test called as F test. You check for the variances. If the variances are equal, then you perform this T test assuming equal variances. If the variances are unequal, then you perform this T test using T test assuming unequal variances. And in case you're faced with a situation where you have to compare more than two sample sets, then we perform this method called as ANOVA. Okay, so ANOVA is like it's an acronym for analysis of variance. Okay, so basically whatever you see in these yellow boxes, right? So those are the different types of hypothesis tests that we perform on the data. Okay, now let me talk a bit about these sets that I have mentioned here. Okay, so we are saying how many sample sets are we comparing, right? Now if I just go back to this scenario, let's say there is the situation 1. Okay, so there is a group of people who have been on a diet. Okay, and then there is the situation 2 where there are two weight loss diets. Okay, now in the first scenario, right, there is one group of people and there are two sets of readings for them. So one is the weight of the people before the diet and one is the weight of the people after the diet, but both the readings belong to the same group of people, that is. So in that situation we will use this t-test paired to 2 sample for means. Okay. In the second scenario, there is one group of people who have undergone this diet 1, and there's one more group of people who have undergone this diet 2. So the groups of people are different, right? So here we are saying 2 sets belong to different groups, and therefore here we first perform this F test to see whether the variances are equal, and then if the variances are equal, we perform t-test assuming equal variances. If the variances are unequal, we perform t-test using assuming unequal variances. If there are more than 2 sets, right? So for example, in this scenario, we are talking about only 2 types of diets. But imagine there are 5 types of diet or more than 2 types of diets, right? So in that situation, we perform this test called as ANOVA. Okay. So this is just an overview of when to use what type of test. I will go into details of how actually we do this testing. Any questions here till now? Going to the concept. So why do we do this hypothesis testing, or what is the principle behind doing this hypothesis testing? We do it to check if the difference in the means is significant or not significant. Okay. So what do I mean by difference in the means? Just give me a moment. Yeah. See, so let's take that first scenario, right? So I'm just putting scenario 1. Okay. So you have a set of people, and you have the weight of the people before the diet, and then you have the weight of the people after the diet. Okay. And then, so you have 30 persons who have undergone that diet. The average weight before the diet is 90 kgs. The average weight after the weight is 5 kgs. Okay. Now you compare this 90 kg and you compare this 85 kg. There's a difference of this 5 kilos, right? Now, just by looking at this difference of 5 kilos, you cannot directly say that the diet has helped reduce the weight by 5 kilos. Okay. So what do I mean by that? This 5 kilo reduction of the average group weight from 90 to 85 kg could have also been due to random chance occurrence. Okay. So it could have either been due to the diet, or it could have been due to a random chance occurrence. So in order to check whether it has been a random chance occurrence or whether it has really been due to the diet, we use the hypothesis testing. So that is what I mean when I say the difference between the 2 weights is statistically significant. So if it is statistically significant, then it means that the reduction in the weight has occurred purely due to the diet. Okay. So that is what we are saying here. We need to check if the difference in the means is significant or not significant. Okay. So what we have to note here is, I think this is where a lot of people don't understand hypothesis testing, or don't have a clear idea of hypothesis testing. Okay. Because I personally have talked to a lot of people. They are well versed with all the machine learning algorithms and everything. But this is kind of like the ABCD of statistics. Okay. So, but a lot of people struggle in this concept because they don't understand this point here. Okay. So what we need to remember here is the mean of the one group will always be higher or lower than the mean of another group. So for example, what we saw here. So one group, first group, before the diet, the average weight is 90 kg. After the diet, the average weight is 85 kg. So this difference will always exist. So we do the hypothesis testing just to check whether this difference is a real or significant difference, or it's a not significant difference. Okay, so that's what we're saying. We just need to check whether that high or low is statistically significant or a random occurrence. Okay, so how do we do this check? We compare these 2 metrics. So one metric is called as this p-value, and the other metric is called as alpha. Okay, so what is this p-value? This p-value is defined as the probability that the observed outcome is due to random chance. Okay, and alpha is called as a significance level. Usually this is taken as 0.05. I will come into what is exactly this, but for now you can just remember that this alpha is generally taken as 0.05. Okay, what do I mean by observed outcome here? Observed outcome is the reduction in the average weight from 90 kgs to 85 kgs. So what is the probability that this reduction in the weight is due to random chance? So that is what we define as the p-value. Okay. Any questions here on the slide? Okay, let me move on to the next one. So how you okay? So just assume that you have performed this some kind of a hypothesis testing. So how do you actually read the test result? Okay, so how you do that is you first perform the test and then you will get a set of results, and that result will display the p-value. Let's say that p-value is 0.03. Okay, so what is the meaning of this 0.03? The meaning is that the probability that the observed outcome is due to random chance is 3%, or you can call it just 3%. So why do I say just 3%? Because this 0.03 p-value, we have to compare it with this alpha value. So we are saying it here, right? P-value, you have to compare the p-value and the alpha. So you have to compare that 0.03 p-value with this alpha, that is 0.05. Okay, and if this p-value is less than 0.05, then you do something called as this reject null hypothesis. Okay, this basically means the difference in the the difference in the means of the groups is statistically significant. Okay, if this p-value, so in this case the p-value is 0.03, which is less than 0.05, which means the difference is statistically significant. Okay, if this p-value is greater than or equal to 0.05, then you do not reject the null hypothesis. Then this essentially means that the difference in the means of the groups is not statistically significant and it is just a random chance occurrence. Okay, so what is the meaning of this null hypothesis? This basically means the difference in the means is null or zero. Okay, which means means of both groups are the same. Okay, so I'll just come back to this example that we have here. So essentially the mean of this first group, or the before diet, is 90 kgs. The mean of the after diet is 85 kgs. So the null hypothesis basically says that there is no real difference. See, there is a quantitative difference that you observed between 90 and 85. Okay, but whether that quantitative difference is significant or real, so that is what we need to check. And that null hypothesis basically tells you that this 5 kg difference that you see is not real or not significant. Okay, so that is why you're saying the difference in the means is null or zero. So that is why we call this as a null hypothesis, which basically means both the means are the same. Means of the both groups are the same. Okay, so let me just take a few steps back here. So we are saying if the p-value is less than 0.05, we reject the null hypothesis. So what do you mean when you reject the null hypothesis? We reject the assumption that means of both groups are the same. Okay, which in turn means the means are statistically significant, or the difference in the means is statistically significant. Okay, and if you do not reject the null hypothesis, then you conclude that the means of the both groups are the same. Okay, I will actually explain in the next step as to how exactly we calculate or arrive at this p-value. But if you have any questions until now, please let me know.
Sai, like that 0.05 value, is it fixed for all kind of analysis, maybe irrespective of number of rows or data?
Yes.
Okay.
So why do we take it as 0.05 as the cutoff? Because you see this definition, the probability that the observed outcome is due to random chance. Okay, if this difference is less than, so when you say 5%, you're anything that has a random chance probability of less than 5%, you're saying it is statistically significant. Okay, which is to say you're giving very, very little room for a random chance occurrence. You're just giving a 5% room for a random chance occurrence. On the other hand, if you give a 20% room for a random chance occurrence, it won't be the right thing to do, because in anything that happens due to random, right? So that's why you're saying the probability that the observed outcome is due to random chance is just 3%, or it is very, very less than 5%. So 5% is what is usually taken as the cutoff level or the significance level.
So Sai, see, what should be the connection between the null hypothesis and the actual test we are performing? Because typically the null hypothesis is something that sort of we assign, right? So we would say, okay, let's take this as the null hypothesis, right?
Right.
But you can take anything as the null hypothesis. the question is, how is the null hypothesis really linked to the test we are performing? Okay, and so for example, so I just, that's the question. How is the null hypothesis connected to the test we are performing, and why does the test really confirm or reject the null hypothesis?
Right. So let me come here actually. So we have these two sets of readings, right? So we have this weight before diet and weight after diet, right? And when we do the hypothesis testing in Excel, we actually have a parameter where we specify or where we plug in this null hypothesis basically. I'll just show you. So what you do is you click on this data. You have something called as data analysis, right? And so you go here, and so you have something called as t-test paired 2 sample for means, right? So why do we call this a paired t-test? Because for the same set of persons you have two readings. So you have the weight before diet and then you have the weight after diet. And you click on when you select this paired 2 sample for means, and when we click on OK, we have this parameter called as hypothesized mean difference, right? So this hypothesized mean difference basically means this. So the mean difference is the difference between this 90 kgs and the 85 kgs. And my null hypothesis, so here, like you said, Chaitanya, here, so the null hypothesis is something that we set, okay? And in this case, we are basically hypothesizing that the difference in the means is null or zero. So that's why here what we usually do is the hypothesized mean difference between the two sets of readings, we give it as a 0, and then this becomes our null hypothesis.
Just to add, Chaitanya. So when we were taught this, so what we were told was, so we have a condition so that we want to prove. So we always check null hypothesis opposite of it, and we try to prove whether that opposite is true or not. So let's say in this case we want to prove that there was 5 kg loss due to the diet. Okay, but what we are trying to prove is so we'll take the null hypothesis that it is not true. Once we prove that not true is false, so that means the true is positive. So this way we always take null hypothesis opposite of what we want to prove, and then we compare it with the alpha value, which depends on the confidence level. Confidence level is something like in this case we are going for 95% confidence level. Am I correct, Sai?
Yes. 95%.
That's why we are taking alpha value as 0.05.
Yeah, and the alternate thing that we are saying, right? So that is actually called as the alternate hypothesis as per the terminology. So you have the null hypothesis which states there is no difference, and then you have the alternate hypothesis which says there is a significant difference.
Okay, but what I'm trying to get at is slightly different. I'm just really trying to understand. See, given that so what do we set as the null hypothesis? So that's the key question. And how does it link to the? So here, so basically what we are saying is, see, there is the mean 90.3 and there is the other mean 85, right? So even if we sort of, let's say, get the significance and all of that, so how does it prove that it is the diet that helped in the process? And also, what do we set as the null hypothesis? These are some of the sort of random questions I have.
Right.
Go ahead.
So to make it clear, so let's say you have a hypothesis, some hypothesis, like in this case we are saying that that diet has helped us to reduce 5 kg. Okay, so the null hypothesis would be exact opposite of it. So the exact opposite, the diet haven't helped us to reduce 5 kg.
I put the no swap. I understand the mechanics. I'm just trying to get the clarity. So I went through the same course as you, just so you know.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm just trying to get. I know what the mechanics are. I'm just trying to be more clear about why does it work, right? What are the things, what are the connecting things here, right? And what if, let's say, the hypothesis is slightly different, because the test that we perform is more or less same. So if the hypothesis were to be slightly different, how do we change the test? These are some of the things that I'm trying to get to.
So Chaitanya, so as an extension to what Swab just mentioned, right? So this is, this kind of forms the basis of how do we actually form that null hypothesis, where we say the difference in the means of the two groups is null or zero. So which is essentially saying that there is no that there is no difference, which in turn means that the diet has not been helpful in reducing the weight. So usually when we say null hypothesis, it kind of ties in with what Swab just mentioned, as to say that the experiment has not really been effective.
So the difference between the means is clearly visible, right?
It is, yes. So there is a quantitative difference, but that difference is not statistically significant, is what the null hypothesis basically tells us. The difference will always be there, but the null hypothesis basically tells us that the difference is not statistically significant.
Okay.
Okay, let me just go back a bit. So yeah, so I'll just go over how do we actually perform this t-test. Okay, now let me just come back here for a moment. So let's use this flowchart. We can see how many sample sets are we comparing. Now here we are comparing only two sets. So one is the set of the readings before the diet, the other is the set of the readings after the diet, and here the two sets belong to the same group of people. So we should use this t-test paired to sample for means. Okay. So how do we do that? In case you don't have this data analysis option over here, so this is basically called as a data analysis tool pack, and how you actually get that is you click on file and then you click options, and you have something called as add-ins. Okay, so you click on add-ins, and you have something called as this analysis tool pack. Okay, so you just need to ensure that this add-in is present in your Excel, and once you do that, you will have this option here. So you click on this and you select this t-test paired to sample for means, click OK, and you have something called as variable 1 range, which is, just click here, and this is our first variable range. Okay. You can exclude the average from the selection. You just need to select the readings and then select the variable 2 range, which is input. So note here that I am selecting from C3, right? So C3 contains the headers. So I'm selecting from C3, I'm excluding the average value. And like I said here, our null hypothesis is that the difference in the means is 0. So I say hypothesis mean difference is 0. And you have a checkbox which says labels. So like I said, I am selecting from C3. C3 actually contains the header of that column. Okay, I'm not able to scroll up. Okay, but you saw that, right? So since I have selected the labels along with my values, I will check this box which says labels, and this alpha is basically the 0.05 which we usually set, against which we compare the p-value. Okay, and I'll just say new worksheet, click on OK. So yeah, so this is what the results look like. Okay, so you have something called as means, and you have the two sets of readings. So that is the weight before diet and weight after diet. So the mean of the weight before diet is 90 kg, and the mean of the weight after diet is 85 kgs. Then you have some other parameters as well, variance, observations, Pearson correlation, everything. So you also have something called as a t-stat and t-critical. Now these values you usually get when you perform this test using a pen and paper. But here in Excel, it just shows you these values just as a part of the results. But what we have to note here is, you note this t is less than or equal to t1 tail, right? So this is what you check. So here, let me just come back to the slide for a moment. Yeah, so we are saying after doing the test, we compare this p-value and alpha, right? So what is that p-value? It is this, what we have here, this p of this one-tailed distribution. And you also have something called as a two-tailed distribution, which is to say, okay, let me just come back here. See, now you have the weight before diet to be 90 kg and the weight after diet to be 85 kg. Okay, you're saying that the weight has, the diet has reduced the weight. Okay, now let us imagine one more scenario where it is not exactly a diet, but people are given some kind of a medicine or a pill to reduce the weight. Okay, but there is also a chance that the pill might actually end up increasing the weight as well. So there's, if you take the pill, you have a chance of increasing the weight or decreasing the weight. Okay, so your result can go in two directions. So it can either go in a positive direction where it increases the weight, or it can go in a negative direction where it decreases the weight. So in those kinds of situations, you check for this p of two tail. Okay, but here in this case, since we are talking about a diet, you absolutely know for sure that, so if I am dieting, there is no chance for me to increase the weight can only decrease. Okay, so in those kinds of situations where you're absolutely sure that the outcome is in only one particular direction, that in those situations you select this p of one-tailed distribution, and here this is nothing but 2.31 to 10 to the power of minus 5. Okay, so this value you have to compare with that 0.05 or the alpha. Okay, and here if you see this 2.3 into 10 power minus 5 is less than 0.05, and let me come back here. So what do we do if this p-value is less than 0.05? We reject the null hypothesis, which is basically saying that the difference in the means is statistically significant. So what does that mean in our scenario? So that's difference between 90 kg and 85 kg is statistically significant, and this basically means that the diet is really helpful in reducing the weight. Okay, so this is how you do this two sample paired t-test. So any questions here before I go over to the next type of t-test? Okay, stop 5 minutes. Yes, audio 2. So here, this scenario 2, if you remember, we had a set of persons who had diet 1, and then we had a set of persons who had diet 2. Okay, now we need to find out whether it is diet 1 which is helpful in reducing the weight, or diet 2 which is helpful in reducing the weight. Okay, and here also you have the means. The average weight of the people who have undergone diet 1 is 69 kgs. Average weight of the people who have undergone diet 2 is 68 kgs, 68.9 kgs. Okay, and let me go back to the flow chart here. So here also we are comparing two sets, but here the two sets belong to two different groups of people. One group of people has undergone diet 1, the other group has undergone diet 2. Okay, so in these situations what we do is we first perform this F test, two sample for variances. Okay, and how you do that is, again you go to this data, then you go to this data analysis, you have this F test, two sample for variances, click here, click OK, and similarly you select the parameters. For the variable 1, it starts from this here, exclude the average. Similarly for variable 2, and then you have selected the labels. Alpha is 0.05, I'll put it in a new worksheet, and this is what it basically says. Here also it gives, so a lot of statistics it gives which you actually get when you perform using pen and paper, but this is actually what you have to see, this p-value. Okay, so this p-value is 0.33, and the same principle applies. You check whether this p-value is less than 0.05, okay, or greater than or equal to 0.05. Okay, so here this 0.33 is less than 0.05. Okay, which basically 0.33 is greater than or equal to 0.05, which basically means you accept your null hypothesis or you do not reject your null hypothesis, which means that the variance that you observe is equal. Okay, okay, say so if this is greater than or equal to 0.05, so in the previous case we are saying that the mean is equal if the variance if the p-value is greater than or equal to 0.05, but here we are saying that the variances are equal. And if the variances are equal, then what is the test we should perform? We should perform this t-test 2 sample assuming equal variances. So how you do that is, again, you come to this raw data here, you click on data, you click on data analysis. It's almost the same procedure. So here you have t-test assuming equal variances, assuming unequal variances. Here our p-value is greater than 0.05, so we will assume equal variances. Click OK, and same procedure. You select the variable one range, select the variable two range. Hypothesize mean difference is 0. You have selected the labels, alpha is 0.05. Put it on a new worksheet. Click OK. Right. So here also again, so I'm dieting, so there is no chance for my weight to increase. So the weight can only go in one direction or it can only decrease. So I will look at this p of one tail, and this p value here is, again, it is greater than 0.05, which basically means the no single diet among this diet 1 and diet 2 is effective in reducing the weight. So both the diets are kind of equal in reducing the weight. Okay, which basically means this difference that you observe between the 69.1 kgs and the 68.9 kgs is a random chance occurrence. So it is not, so this difference has not occurred particularly because of diet 2. So this 1 kg difference, you cannot say this diet 2 is the one which has been effective in reducing this 1 kg. So both the diets are equally effective. That's what you say. So yeah, that's what I had for today.